I spent thousands of hours on sales strategy, implementation, and experimentation, and it's made me over $111 million. From all this experience, I've developed a strategy that combines all the greatest parts of modern sales into the perfect system. And it's something anyone can do regardless how much money and experience they have. And I would know because I started from $0. So let's get started with step number one. Now, the first thing we're gonna do as we come over the computer screen is we have to create something that we can sell for $2,500 or more. Reason we want to do that is it's a lot easier to get to $10,000 a month selling 4 people at 1 a week than it is to sell 100 to someone at $100. So that's the first thing we want to do. Now we want to narrow this down to the fitness or health, wealth, or relationship niche. So to give you examples of companies I've started, the first one I started was an online fitness company. I got people in shape, I gave them diets, workout programs. That would be in the health niche. My other companies, the one I have now specifically, business consulting and helping people scale and start their businesses, growing to 8, 9+ figures, is in the wealth industry. Now, men typically will be more advantageous to spend their money on wealth. Older gentlemen will spend more money on health. Relationships are gonna be single people or married people, right? It doesn't matter which you choose, but every single person on planet Earth wants more wealth, more health, and better relationships. And that's why you wanna have a subset of one of these. So once we've decided on what we want to sell, the next thing is that we want to start outreach. Now, a lot of people, when they start businesses, they think that it's a very complicated process. They think that, oh, I have to know all these people or I have to have a big social media following. That's not true at all. So the easiest way to start growing your business is to start on your social media with all the prospects you have. For example, when I go to my social media, what I want to do is any post you see here that has likes or comments, we want to start messaging every single one of these individuals to try to get them to buy our service. And the easiest way to reach out to these individuals is by simply saying, hey, thanks for the follow. What's your goal with XYZ? So in this case, it could be, what's your fitness goal? Okay. What's your business goal? Okay. What's your relationship goal? Whatever it is that you're selling. When you come to the profile, people can already tell pretty quickly what it is I do, right? Like it's not that hard to figure out. The reason is because of the bio I have. So first is credibility, $100+ million in sales in 6 years. The second is what I do. I help people build online businesses. More credibility, how many clients I've worked with. And then the last one is the call to action, DM ready for help. And then obviously there's a link to a service or a website or whatever I want. So each and every day, one of the easiest things to do is on Facebook, Instagram, wherever, you can go and message every single individual that is commenting or engaging with your stuff. You have to do that because at the end of the day, you are using your social media profiles to make money. You're not using your social media profiles to get friends or to post your personal life. Now you can post that, but I use my social media specifically for business. Now, the reason we want to start reaching out is because we have no money, we have no skill, we're brand new. And so we have to start reaching out to get those initial customers. Now, once you are reaching out, the goal or objective for warm followers is anyone who's following you, is typically 100 people, okay? We get about 30% response rate. Okay, we want to book 2 to 5 sales calls and then close 1 to 2. Now, if we can do that at a $2,500 price point, usually reaching out to 100 people, you can do about 20 an hour without getting a block. So that's 5 hours of work. Then with the sales calls, let's say you take 5 sales calls, there's another 5 hours of work. So in 10 hours of work, if you get a $2,500 sale, that's $250 per hour. You're a very high-level paid worker at this point. The goal of that is then to take that cash and money and move it into paid traffic. We'll get into that in just a second. A lot of people will say, well, Tanner, that's great, but I don't really have a following. And don't worry, I didn't have a following in the beginning either. So if you don't, you're gonna wanna reach out to people via cold DM, right? Why do you want to do this? Because it takes a lot less time to message people than to call or try to do cold email marketing. This is one of the easiest things that anyone on earth can do that has a cell phone. So let's say that I am looking to message people in fitness. So what I want to do is look for hashtags around my topic. So the reason I like hashtags is because there's so many different people that will post their fitness pictures in this regards. Again, let's say I'm selling a fitness offer. So if I go to Fit Mom, what I can do is as I scroll down, there's a lot of in shape women, but you're gonna see in a few of these a few women that are out of shape. And then once I see someone who's out of shape, I know that whether they're looking for help or not, they need help. And then that allows me an opportunity to message them and to see if I can get them into a call. So let's see if I can find someone quickly that's not in shape. Okay, so let's go to this individual. So this is perfect. So this person is into fitness. I'm not gonna show her face, but I think they could use a little bit of work or a little bit of help. So what I could do is I could reach out to this individual. I could say, hey Norma, love all the fitness content, keep up the great work. I'm curious, like, how do you like San Diego? I'm thinking about coming out there for vacation. You wanna say something that relates to them. And you can go in Facebook groups and reach out to people in the same manner. It's a little harder, I would say now, because so many people go into Facebook groups and do that, but you can easily go into these Facebook groups and start finding people that look like your ideal avatar and start reaching out to those individuals that look like they're a fit, okay? And I'm not in this group. I think this one's actually a page. So let's go to fitness. We'll go to groups. And for example, I could come in here and I could start messaging like any of these members, right? And again, usually you have about 20 people an hour. So what you would want to do is you're going to want to reach out to individuals that look like they need to lose weight or they're not in shape. I'm not going to reach out to trainers. So like these individuals up here, these are trainers, right? Like I don't want to reach out to them because they're obviously not going to want to be interested in this type of service. If we have to do cold outreach, it's harder because they're not your followers, but it's actually pretty easy. So step one is give a compliment, okay? Now she's going to respond and say, oh, thanks so much. I really appreciate it. And you're like, yeah, no worries. And then you're going to say, what do you do for work? Okay. This is a simple outline, adjust it as needed for your offer. What do you do for work? She's like, oh, I'm a electrician. You're like, oh, wow, that's amazing. How long have you been doing that? Does that make it hard to work out? Now this is in regards to a fitness offer. If you're selling a business offer, you're going to just change this up. I always use fitness in my examples. It's a little bit easier for people to grasp. So does that make it hard to work out? And she'll say, oh yeah, it does make it hard to work out. I'm really busy, etc. And I go, got it. Totally understand that. Like I've totally been there. Like what's the fitness goal you're working on? Okay. And now we're actually into the pitch without her knowing, because again, we started off by being friendly and then we slowly worked it into fitness. That's the easiest way to do it. You don't want to just go up to someone and say, hey, you look like you could lose weight. Like, what's your goal? That's never going to work. We want to work into it. So once I say, what's your goal? She'll go, oh, I want to lose 30 pounds. You're like, awesome. Like, what are you struggling with? What have you tried? Have you ever had a coach before? And she's going through, she's like, no, like I'm struggling with this. I've tried this, never had a coach, etc. It's like, well, cool. I don't know if you care or not, but I do this XYZ thing, in this case, fitness, all day long. I'm down to give you some advice, but I just like to ask first because you may not care, LOL, right? And they're usually like, yeah, that's great. It's like, cool. So instead of me typing out, 6,000 more messages, LOL, I can just chat for 10 minutes on the phone. Does that work? They're like, yeah, that works. That's great. It's like, cool. Here's my number. What's yours? Okay. Super simple. Now, once we've done that, we're going to get on a 15-minute set call. Okay. Now, some people will ask, hey, Tanner, can I skip the 15-minute set call? You can, depending on the offer. I usually find more B2B, you can skip this. If it's more business to consumer, right? I wouldn't do this, right? Or I would do this. I would definitely have the set call. So usually when I get on the set call, the way it would sound is I'm like, hey, thanks for letting me call you real quick. I won't take too much time. I do a little chit chat and I'm like, cool. So, walk me through more about what your goal is. And I start asking pretty much the same questions. And I'm like, cool. And like, what are you struggling with? And what have you tried? Okay, awesome. And you never had a coach? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you over a quick application that's going to have more specific questions of what foods you like, what foods you hate, stuff like that. When you're done, send it back to me. And then once that's done, we'll get back on another call. Sound good? And they're like, yeah. And they don't even know that the application is basically, it's an application for a sales call. So I'm actually going to show you an application I sent way back in the day. This is one of the questionnaires. So I said, Richard, appreciate the talk. Thanks for scheduling with me. Sustainability is a very common problem. Please answer these questions. You guys can just pause the video and read through this. And essentially I say, what's your age, your weight, body fat, all that type of stuff. But really what I care about is I say, hey, my programs are about teaching, not just running around. It's a one-time investment. You know, when it's done, you'll never need help again. Are you cool to do that? Scale 1 to 10, how serious are you? And then he actually answered this. And again, you can pause the video and read it. And he said, as long as it makes sense, like he will invest. And then I got back on a sales call and I closed him. That was the best feeling in the world because now I had $2,500 in my bank account and I could start running ads and boosting my posts and start getting more leads so I didn't have to go out and do cold lead generation. So that's step number 4. And then we obviously get on a call and close. Now I'm not gonna go through that in this video. I have other videos on that. I'm gonna link that video down below so you guys can check that out. But then you're gonna close. Now once we close, we take that cash and start running boosted posts. So the cool part is now that we have cash, instead of having to outreach to people, we have a couple things. We now have a process that works. We now have money in the bank. So now if you're gonna try to scale and make money faster, we have to get this process to work quicker, right? And it's pretty slow and tedious to just reach out to people on Instagram. So I'll show you what a boosted post is. So if I go back to my profile, okay, I can come here and click on Boost Reel, okay? And this is super simple. You can do this right from your phone or computer. Now, Apple is now charging 30% surcharge if you do it on your phone, if you have an iPhone, so just do it on your computer. So what I wanna do is I'm gonna choose visit my profile. I'm gonna choose the type of audience. So let's say in terms of what I wanna choose for my audience, you can create your own. So I would come here and I'd say, all right, I wanna target people, I'll call it whatever I want. I wanna target people who are at least, let's say 35 years old. Let's do, the United States. Okay. We'll click save. We're gonna do 25, we'll say, to 50. We'll do 25 to, or 35 to 50. We'll do, let's just say in this case, we're gonna do male. And then in terms of audience suggestions, we're gonna choose what we want. So in terms of interests, we're gonna do, we'll say like fitness, okay? And you can choose whatever you want. The goal is pick stuff that you actually think your ideal person is gonna like, okay? And then we click save, and then we can come down and start boosting a post, right? And we'll choose the budget per day and how many days we wanna do it for. Now, again, the key thing here is knowing what numbers you wanna look for. So usually what you want is 10 to 20 cents per profile view, $1 to $2 per follower. And the cool thing now is on Instagram, if you go to your notifications, you should be able to see on your notifications who's followed you. You can't see this on the computer, but on your cell phone, you can see like who's followed you and who commented and stuff like that. So you can actually keep a better track. And really, realistically, every day you should be getting more followers. Once I'm getting a follower for every $1 to $2, for example, if I spend $100 and I get 50 followers, as long as I convert some of those followers into sales the same way as I did up here, and I get a $2,500 sale, and let's say I spend $500, I made $2,000 of profit. And then you rinse and repeat that process. And I've seen people run this exact strategy all the way up to $100,000 a month. And the only difference is as they start doing it is they'll hire people to go in and message for them, or they'll hire people to be the coaches, or they'll hire people to do the sales calls. But you can actually do this process here, this simplistic process, all the way to $100,000 a month. And then once you get to that point, then we have to start moving into traditional paid traffic. Now, what do I mean by that? Traditional paid traffic is not boosted posts. That's where you go inside the ads manager. Why do we have to do that? The reason we have to do that is because at a certain point, Facebook and Instagram will give you a spam block. Spam block means if you send too many messages in an hour, they're gonna start blocking you. So boosted posts are great, but eventually if you're messaging too many people, Instagram or Facebook will flag you and they're gonna slow you down, which means that's gonna stop the growth of your business if you need more leads, right? Because at the end of the day, to make more money, we need more leads, we need more sales. Once you're running traditional ads and you're trying to scale to hundreds of thousands or millions a month, you're gonna need to use some type of software. Now, I'll leave a link down below to our internal software called Elite 360. And a funnel is just where you're telling the traffic to go. So let's say that this funnel here was elitecos.com. So they go to this funnel and they're like, okay, I wanna lose weight and get in shape. Awesome. Now this is a pretty ugly funnel, but let's say it's like, hey, unlock the secret to staying lean. And they do this and they put in their information. On the next page, they'll see a VSL. So let's say this is a video about getting in shape and it's like, hey, book a call below. And then they book that call below. and then they will get a thank you page that preps them for the sales call. And this is the exact process I use to do over $111 million in under 6 years. Now, if you want to see how to run that traditional paid traffic that I just showed you at the end, you can go ahead and click this video right here.